I opened the email at 9:15 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Subject line, urgent, DNA test results. It was from a former patient, Laura Chen. She'd been treated at our clinic 8 years ago. Now she had a 7-year-old son. Crew, we did a DNA test on our son. 23andMe. The results? Something's wrong. I clicked the attachment. There was a list. A long list. Very long. In sperm donation, there's a rule. An industry standard. A single donor can be used for a maximum of 10 to 15 families. That's it. To prevent genetic overlap. To prevent siblings from unknowingly meeting later in life. This list had 94 names on it. 94 children. All siblings. All from the same donor. And at the bottom of the page, I saw a name I recognized. 48 hours later, 11 more families called. All of them had done the same test. All of them found themselves on that list. All 94 children. I logged into our clinic's lab system, pulled up 12 years of donor records. That name kept appearing in every file, every record, every treatment. My name is Crew. I'm 49 years old. I own a fertility clinic in Boston. For 17 years, I ran it with my partner. We helped thousands of families have children. After I got that email, I discovered something. I discovered who the real father of 94 children was, and I discovered why none of the families knew. I met Knox Harper in 2005. We were both working at Massachusetts General Hospital. I was a fertility specialist. Knox was finishing his residency in reproductive endocrinology. We'd grab coffee between shifts and talk about the field, about how difficult it was for couples struggling with infertility, about the waiting lists, the costs, the emotional toll. One night over beers, Knox said, we should open our own clinic, cut out the bureaucracy, make it more personal. I liked the idea. In 2007, we opened Boston Fertility Associates, small office in Back Bay, just the two of us at first. Knox handled the medical procedures. I managed operations and patient relations. It worked. By 2010, we'd moved to a larger space. By 2015, we had 3 nurses and 2 lab technicians. By 2020, we were treating 200 new patients a year. Our success rate was excellent. 62% live birth rate for IVF, well above the national average of 50%. Knox was meticulous. Every procedure was carefully documented. Every protocol followed exactly. Patients loved him. He had this way of making people feel hopeful without making false promises. We'll do everything we can, he'd say. But ultimately, biology has the final say. I trusted him completely. 17 years. We'd been through everything together. Staff turnover, lawsuits, regulatory audits, a fire in 2018 that damaged our lab. We rebuilt. We kept going. Knox was more than a partner. He was a friend, or so I thought. Our clinic used an anonymous sperm donor system, standard practice. Couples or single women could choose from a catalog of donors. Each donor was assigned a number. No names, no photos, just medical history, ethnicity, education level, physical characteristics, height, eye color, hair color, blood type. Donors were screened extensively. Medical exams, genetic testing, psychological evaluations, background checks. Only about 5% of applicants were accepted. Once accepted, a donor could provide samples over several months. Those samples were frozen and stored in our cryogenic lab. Each donor's samples were tracked carefully, used for no more than 10 to 15 families. After that, the donor was retired from our system. This wasn't arbitrary. It was about preventing genetic issues. If one donor had 50 or 100 children in the same geographic area, there's a risk. Those children could meet, date, marry, have children together, without knowing they're related. So 10 to 15 families per donor. That was the limit. Industry-wide. FDA guidelines. Medical ethics. Knox knew this. He'd helped me write our clinic's donor protocols back in 2008. He'd presented at conferences about responsible donor management. He was an expert. Which is why, when I saw that list of 94 names, I couldn't process it at first. 94 children from a single donor. Impossible. We'd never allow that. Someone had made a catastrophic error, or so I thought. 2 days after the email, Laura Chen called. Her voice was shaking. Crew, I need to understand what's happening. My son is 7 years old. We did a DNA test for fun. Family tree project for school. And it came back saying he has 93 half-siblings. I saw your email. I said, I'm looking into it. Looking into it? Crew, 93 siblings. How is that even possible? You told us donor samples were limited. They are. This shouldn't have happened. But it did. And there's something else. She paused. The DNA test matched my son to a name, Knox Harper. It says Knox Harper is his biological father. I felt cold. That can't be right. The test says 99.9% probability. Crew, is Dr. Knox my son's biological father? Let me investigate this. I'll call you back. I hung up, stared at my desk. Knox. Knox's name had come up on a DNA test as the father of Laura's son. Didn't make sense. Knox wasn't a donor. He'd never registered as a donor. I pulled up our donor database. Searched for Knox Harper. No results. Searched for donor number 847. That was the number that appeared on Laura's treatment records from 2017. Donor number 847. Anonymous. Medical history clean. The profile looked normal. But when I cross-referenced donor number 847's usage history, I found something disturbing. Donor number 847 had been used 94 times, over 12 years, from 2012 to 2024. 94 families. That was 6 times our maximum limit. I went down to our cryogenic storage lab. It was after hours. The building was empty. Our lab tech, Angela, had left at 6 p.m. I had access codes for everything. I unlocked the freezer room. Rows of steel tanks, liquid nitrogen, hundreds of samples stored at minus 196 degrees Celsius. I found the section for donor number 847, pulled the log. Each entry showed a date, a sample collection date, a usage date. I checked the handwriting on the log sheets. Knox's handwriting. Every entry. For 12 years. I pulled one of the sample vials. The label read, donor number 847. But underneath, in smaller print, there was an initial. K.H. Knox Harper. I pulled another vial. Same thing. K.H.I. checked 10 more. All of them. K.H. Knox had labeled his own samples as donor number 847. My hands were shaking. I went back to my office, locked the door, opened my laptop, started going through patient files. Every case where donor number 800 had been used. 94 cases. 94 families. All of them had been treated by Knox. Knox had personally handled every procedure, every insemination, every IVF cycle. He'd selected the donor, prepared the samples, performed the procedures, and in every single case, he'd used his own sperm. Labeler number 847. Over the next week, the calls kept coming. Rebecca Tran. Her daughter was 9. DNA test showed 93 half-siblings, all linked to Knox Harper. David Kowalski. His twin sons were 11. Same result. Sarah Mitchell. Her son was 8. Same result. By the end of the week, I'd been contacted by 34 families. All of them had used donor number 847. All of them discovered through DNA testing that their children were Knox's biological children. I didn't know what to say to them. I'm investigating. There's been an error. I'll get back to you. But I knew the truth. There was no error. Knox had done this deliberately. For 12 years. 94 families. 94 children. All his. I called an emergency meeting with our attorney. Explained the situation. She looked pale. Crew, this is a massive liability. Fraud. Negligence. Violation of patient consent. The families could sue for millions. I know. Did you know Knox was doing this? No. I had no idea. Can you prove that? I think so. He handled the lab records. I managed operations and patient relations. We had separate roles. You need to confront him immediately, and you need to document everything. I called Knox, asked him to meet me at the clinic after hours. He arrived at 8 p.m., walked into my office, smiled. What's going on? Your message sounded serious. I didn't smile back. Donor number 847. His smile faded. What about it? 94 families, Knox. 94 children. Silence. DNA tests. 23andMe. Ancestry DNA. My heritage. Families are finding out. Their children are all related. All half-siblings. He sat down slowly. Crew. And they're all related to you? Every test comes back with your name. Knox Harper. Biological father. He looked at the floor. I can explain. Explain? Explain what? That you used your own sperm instead of donor sperm for 12 years? That you lied to 94 families? That you violated every ethical guideline in our profession? It's not that simple. Then make it simple. He took a deep breath. The donor supply was always limited. We had waiting lists, families waiting 6 months, a year. Some gave up, went to other clinics. I was trying to help. By using your own sperm, my genetics are perfect, healthy, no hereditary diseases, high IQ, athletic. Why use mediocre donor sperm when I could give these families the best possible chance? I stared at him. You're insane. I'm practical. Those 94 families have healthy, intelligent children. Children they love. What's the harm? The harm, Knox, you violated their consent. They didn't choose you as a donor. They chose anonymous donors. You made yourself the biological father of 94 children without anyone's knowledge or permission. They got what they wanted. Children. That's not the point. Then what is the point, crew? His voice was rising. That I broke some arbitrary rule? That I gave too many families the gift of children? Is that my crime? Your crime is fraud, deception, violation of trust. He stood up. You're overreacting. Families are calling me every day. They're devastated, confused, angry. They're finding out their children have 93 half-siblings they didn't know existed. Do you understand what that does to people? They'll get over it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Get out. What? Get out of my office. You're suspended. Effective immediately. Don't come back to this clinic. He stared at me. Then he turned and walked out. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. The next morning, I called our attorney again, told her about the confrontation. You did the right thing, she said. Now we need to get ahead of this. Notify the state medical board. Voluntarily report the violation. Cooperate fully with any investigation. It's your only chance to protect the clinic. What about Knox? He'll lose his medical license. Probably face criminal charges, fraud, maybe more. And the families? They'll sue. Class action, most likely. You need to prepare for that. I contacted the Massachusetts Board of Registration in Medicine, filed a formal complaint against Knox Harper, detailed everything, the 94 families, the fraudulent use of donor samples, the violation of consent. The board launched an investigation. Within 2 weeks, Knox's medical license was suspended. Pending a full hearing, the families started organizing a class action lawsuit, breach of contract, fraud, emotional distress, violation of reproductive rights. They weren't just suing Knox. They were suing the clinic, suing me. By March 2025, the story went public. Local news picked it up first. Boston fertility doctor used own sperm, fathers 94 children. Then national media, CNN, NBC, The New York Times. Fraud. How one doctor deceived dozens of families. Knox refused to comment. His attorney released a statement. Dr. Harper acted with the best intentions to help families in need. Any allegations of wrongdoing are categorically denied. The families started speaking out. Laura Chen gave an interview. I trusted Dr. Harper. I trusted the clinic. They told me I was using an anonymous donor. Instead, my son's biological father is the doctor who treated me. It's a violation. It's traumatic. Rebecca Tran, my daughter has 93 half-siblings. 93. How do I explain that to her? How do I explain that her doctor lied to us? The public reaction was intense. Outrage, disgust, comparisons to other fertility fraud cases. Dr. Donald Klein in Indiana, Dr. Kim McMorris in Texas. Doctors who'd secretly used their own sperm, fathered dozens of children. Some of those doctors went to prison. I gave one interview to the Boston Globe. I had no knowledge of Dr. Harper's actions. He operated independently in the lab. When I discovered what he'd done, I reported it immediately and suspended him. I'm cooperating fully with investigators and working to support the affected families. It wasn't enough. People wanted someone to blame, and I was an easy target. Co-owner, partner for 17 years. How could you not know? They asked. Maybe they were right. Maybe I should have known. In April, I organized a meeting, invited all 94 families, rented a conference center, expected maybe 30 people to show up. 72 families came. Parents. Some brought their children. The room was packed. I stood at the front, looked at them. Families I'd helped. Families whose lives I'd changed. Now they were looking at me with anger, distrust, pain. I know you're angry, I began. I'm angry too. What Dr. Harper did was wrong, unethical, illegal. I want you to know that I had no knowledge of his actions. I trusted him, and he betrayed that trust, just like he betrayed all of you. A man stood up. You're the co-owner. How did you not know? Dr. Harper handled the lab operations independently. I managed patient relations and administrative functions. We had separate roles. He exploited that separation. A woman. My son has 93 half-siblings. How do we process that? How do we help our children understand this? I don't have all the answers. But I'm committed to supporting you. The clinic is establishing a family network, a way for families to connect if they choose. We're also providing free counseling services. Another man. What about compensation? You ruined our families. There's a class action lawsuit. I'm not going to fight it. The clinic will settle. You'll be compensated. Money doesn't fix this. No, it doesn't. But it's all I can offer. The meeting lasted 3 hours. It was brutal, but necessary. In June 2025, the medical board held Knox's disciplinary hearing. I was called to testify. I walked into the hearing room. Knox was there, sitting with his attorney. He didn't look at me. The board asked me to describe what I'd discovered. I told them everything. The 94 families, the fraudulent donor records, the DNA tests, the confrontation. Knox's attorney argued that Knox had acted to help families, that the children were healthy, that no physical harm had been done. The board wasn't persuaded. Dr. Harper, you violated the fundamental principle of informed consent, the chair said. You used your own genetic material without patients' knowledge or permission. You falsified records. You created a situation where 94 children are biological half-siblings, with all the genetic and social implications that entails. This is not about helping families. This is about a profound violation of trust and ethics. The board revoked Knox's medical license. Permanently, he was also referred to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. In August 2025, Knox was indicted. Fraud, forgery, violation of reproductive rights under Massachusetts law. The trial was scheduled for early 2026. I wasn't sure how to feel. Part of me wanted him to go to prison for what he'd done to those families, for what he'd done to our clinic, to me. But part of me still remembered the Knox I'd known, the friend, the partner, the man who'd helped thousands of families have children. Maybe that person never existed. Maybe I'd been fooled for 17 years. In September, the class action lawsuit was settled. The clinic agreed to pay $8.4 million, distributed among the 94 families, about $90,000 per family. My insurance covered most of it, but I had to sell my house, liquidate my savings. The clinic barely survived. In addition to the monetary settlement, we agreed to provide free genetic counseling for all affected families, free medical monitoring for the children, and we established a trust fund for their college education. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was what I could do. One afternoon in October, I got a call from Laura Chen. Crew, I wanted to let you know. Some of the families have been meeting. The children have been meeting. How's that going? It's strange, but also beautiful in a way. The kids are curious about each other. They're half-siblings. They have that connection. Some of them look alike. Same eyes, same smile. I'm glad they're handling it well. They are. Better than the parents, honestly. Kids are resilient. Laura, I'm sorry for all of this. I know you are, and I believe you didn't know. But crew, we trusted you. We trusted your clinic, and that trust was broken. I understand. I hope you do. She hung up. I thought about those 94 children, growing up knowing they have 93 half-siblings, knowing their biological father is a man who deceived their parents. What would that do to them? Would they resent Knox? Would they resent their parents for using a fertility clinic? Would they struggle with their identity? I didn't know. I could only hope they'd be okay. The trial began in February 2026. I attended every day, sat in the back of the courtroom. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, lab records, DNA test results, testimony from families, expert witnesses on medical ethics. Knox's attorney tried to argue that Knox had acted with good intentions, that the children were healthy, that no one had been physically harmed. But the jury didn't buy it. On March 12th, 2026, Knox was found guilty. Fraud, forgery, violation of reproductive rights. Sentencing was set for April. At the sentencing hearing, several parents gave victim impact statements. Dr. Harper stole something from us, Rebecca Tran said. He stole our right to choose, our right to know, our right to make informed decisions about our own children. That's not a gift. That's a violation. The judge sentenced Knox to 6 years in prison, plus restitution, plus permanent loss of his medical license. As the bailiffs led him away, Knox looked at me. Our eyes met. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if he felt remorse or if he still believed he'd done the right thing. I looked away. After the trial, I focused on rebuilding. The clinic had survived. Barely. But our reputation was damaged. Patients were hesitant to trust us. I implemented new protocols, transparency measures, independent audits, third-party verification of donor records. I hired a new medical director, Dr. Sarah Kim, young, ethical, committed to doing things right. I also reached out to the 94 families again, offered to facilitate ongoing connections, set up a private online network where families could communicate, share updates, arrange meetups if they wanted. About half the families participated. The other half wanted distance, wanted to move on. I understood that. By late 2026, the clinic was stable, not thriving, but surviving. I'd lost my house, my savings, my partner, but I still had the clinic, and I still had a chance to help families the right way. One evening, I was working late. Dr. Kim stopped by my office. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "How did you not see it? 17 years. How did Knox hide this from you?" I'd been asking myself the same question for 2 years. "I trusted him," I said, "completely. We had separate roles. He handled the lab. I handled operations. I never had a reason to doubt him. But there must have been signs. Maybe. In hindsight, maybe there were. Knox was always very protective of the lab. Insisted on handling donor selection personally. Didn't like other staff interfering. At the time, I thought he was just meticulous. Now I realize he was controlling. Do you think he planned this from the beginning? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe it started small. One family, then another, and he justified it to himself. Told himself he was helping, that his genetics were superior, that he was doing them a favor. That's narcissism. Yes. And I missed it. For 17 years. She nodded. "You know, you're not responsible for what Knox did. You didn't know. You reported it as soon as you found out. You cooperated with investigators. You settled with the families. But I was his partner. I should have seen it. Maybe. Or maybe Knox was just very good at hiding it. Some people are." I appreciated her words, but I still felt the weight of it, the guilt, the responsibility. In 2027, 2 years after the initial discovery, I invited the families to another gathering. Optional. No pressure. About 40 families attended. I was nervous. Didn't know what to expect. But when I arrived, the atmosphere was different. Less anger, more curiosity. Parents were talking to each other, comparing notes, sharing stories. The children were playing together, running around, laughing. Half-siblings meeting each other. Laura Chen approached me. "This is surreal," she said, "but also kind of amazing. The kids have formed this huge extended family. They have siblings they never knew they'd have. How's your son doing?" "He's okay. He asks questions about Dr. Harper sometimes. We've been honest with him. Age-appropriate honesty. He knows Dr. Harper did something wrong, but he also knows he has a lot of siblings now, and he thinks that's cool. I'm glad." "Crew, I wanted to say something. I was angry at you for a long time. Felt like you should have known. Should have stopped it. I understand. But I don't think that anymore. You were a victim too, in a different way. Knox betrayed you, just like he betrayed us. Thank you for saying that." She smiled. "The kids want to take a group photo, all 94 of them. Would you help organize it?" I helped round up the children, line them up. 94 kids, all different ages, all half-siblings, all connected by one man's deception. The photo was chaotic, beautiful, surreal. After it was taken, I looked at those 94 faces. Each one represented a family that had been lied to, violated, but also each one represented a child, a life, a person who existed. Knox had done something terrible, but these children weren't terrible. They were just kids, and maybe in some strange way, they'd formed their own community, their own family, not because of Knox, but in spite of him. I never visited Knox in prison. Didn't write, didn't call, but I heard updates, through the grapevine, through attorneys. Knox was serving his 6-year sentence at MCI Concord, medium security prison in Massachusetts. He'd been a model prisoner, quiet, compliant, kept to himself. In 2028, his attorney reached out to me. "Knox would like to speak with you." "Why?" "He wants to apologize, explain himself." "I'm not interested. He's genuinely remorseful, crew. Prison has changed him. Good. He can stay there and reflect on what he did." I hung up. I didn't owe Knox anything. Not my time, not my forgiveness. Maybe he was remorseful. Maybe prison had changed him. But it didn't change what he'd done. It didn't unfather 94 children. It didn't restore the trust he'd violated. By 2029, 4 years after the initial discovery, life had reached a new normal. The clinic was stable. We'd treated 150 new families in 2028, with full transparency, with independent oversight, with ethics at the center of everything we did. The 94 families had mostly moved on. Some stayed in touch, some didn't. The children were growing up, teenagers now. Some of them still connected to their half-siblings, still navigating what it meant to be part of this strange, unwanted, but ultimately real family. Knox had 2 more years left on his sentence. I didn't think about him much anymore. Dr. Kim was running the medical side of the clinic. I focused on operations, on rebuilding trust, on making sure nothing like this ever happened again. One afternoon, I got an email from a reporter. I'm writing a follow-up story on the Knox Harper case, 5 years later. Would you be willing to be interviewed? I thought about it. Then I replied, yes, I'll do the interview. The reporter came to my office a week later, set up her recorder. 5 years ago, your partner was convicted of secretly fathering 94 children using your fertility clinic. How do you reflect on that now? It's still surreal, I said. 17 years I worked with Knox, trusted him, considered him a friend, and he was doing this the entire time, or at least for 12 of those years. Do you think you should have known? I've asked myself that 1,000 times. In hindsight, maybe, but Knox was meticulous. He controlled the lab. He falsified records. He was careful, and I trusted him completely. How has this changed how you run the clinic? Everything is different now. We have independent oversight, third-party audits. Donor records are verified by multiple people. No single person has complete control over any part of the process, and we're completely transparent with patients. They know exactly how our systems work. What about the families? The 94 children? They're doing better than you'd expect. The children have formed relationships with each other, many of them. They're half-siblings, and while they didn't choose that, they're making the best of it. The parents have been incredibly resilient. Some have forgiven the clinic, some haven't. I understand both perspectives. Do you have any regrets? I paused, thought about that question. Yes, I regret trusting Knox so completely. I regret not implementing oversight systems earlier. I regret that 94 families were violated on my watch. But I don't regret helping families have children. That work matters, and I'm committed to doing it right, to honoring the trust people place in us. What would you say to Knox Harper if he were here? Nothing. There's nothing left to say. The interview was published in June 2029. The headline, Boston Fertility Clinic 5 years after scandal. Rebuilding trust, one family at a time. The article was fair, balanced. It acknowledged what had happened, but also showed how the clinic had changed, how the families had persevered. I got emails after it published, some supportive, some critical. One email stood out. It was from one of the 94 children, now 14 years old. Dear Mr. Crew, my name is Daniel. I'm one of the 94 kids from Dr. Harper's situation. I wanted to write to you because my mom said you've been beating yourself up about this for years, and I wanted you to know something. I have 93 half-siblings. That's weird. I didn't ask for it. My parents didn't ask for it. But you know what? Some of my best friends now are my half-siblings. We have this bond, this connection. And yeah, it came from something bad, from Dr. Harper lying. But the friendships are real. The connection is real. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't let Dr. Harper's mistake define everything. He did something wrong, but my life isn't wrong. My siblings aren't wrong. We're making something good out of it. Anyway, thanks for helping my parents have me, even if it was complicated, Daniel. I read the email 3 times. Then I printed it, put it in a frame on my office wall, right next to my medical degree, because that's what mattered. Not the scandal, not Knox, not the lawsuits or the settlements or the prison sentence. What mattered was that 94 children existed, that they were loved, that they were finding their way. Knox had created a mess, a violation, a betrayal, but those children were making something better from it. And that was the lesson I needed to learn. You can't control what other people do. You can't always see betrayal coming, but you can control how you respond. You can work to make things right. You can help people heal. You can do better. And that's what I was going to do for the rest of my career. For as long as I ran that clinic, I was going to do better. My name is Crew. I'm 52 years old. I run a fertility clinic in Boston. For 17 years, I trusted my partner. He used that trust to deceive 94 families, to father 94 children without their knowledge or consent. I didn't know, but I was still responsible. Responsible for fixing what I could, for supporting the families, for making sure it never happened again. Knox is in prison. He'll be released in 2031. I don't know what he'll do then. I don't care. The families are healing. The children are thriving. The clinic is rebuilt. And I've learned the hardest lesson of my life. Trust is essential, but oversight is equally essential. You can't have one without the other. That's my story. That's what I learned from the 94 children, and I'll never forget it.